The National League is calling Boreham Wood's name once again.
Saved by Foster!
Scunthorpe are on the rise again. The iron is gleaming once more.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. This is a National League weekly podcast. I'm your host, Josh Harris, bringing to you a very special episode with a very special guest. I'm delighted to share that we are joined today by Weston-super-Mare AFC's club captain, Mr. Emlyn Lewis. Emlyn, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Thank you.
Firstly, how has this season been for you personally and the club?
Yeah, it's been a good season so far. It's been quite full on with the amount of FA Cup games we've had. So the body's feeling it already, and it's mid-November. But yeah, it's been a positive season. We've had a few good runs. I think with maybe two or three bad results and poor performances. But other than that, we've bounced back quite well from those results, which is positive. Because I know last year we went 10 games without even a win. So yeah, we try to avoid that as best we can this year. But yeah, so far it's been really positive. The group's really positive. It's a great group to be involved with. The lads and the morale around the change room and the boys is fantastic. And as well as the staff as well. So yeah, all good at the moment.
And yeah, let's talk about that Aldershot game in the FA Cup, shall we? Yeah, just talk me through that afternoon and the emotions that, everybody, the players, the staff, the fans, everybody felt that day, the emotions.
Yeah, it was very interesting in comparison to the Rovers game that we had obviously in the previous year.
Yeah.
I think that experience helped us. I think that the understanding of the environment and what we would expect, and of course the home tie massively helped. And I think there was an element of confidence about us, where Rovers was a little bit unknown, a little bit wary, a bit of a big deal for everyone across the community. But the Aldershot game, it just felt like we were ready. Obviously, in relation to the gaps, obviously the leagues, but places in the standings, we weren't too far behind them. So we felt confident with that. And yeah, in relation to the game, I thought we prepped well. We understood what they were going to do. Unfortunately, obviously they just had a new gaffer come in, so it was kind of a little bit of the unknown. But in relation to that, I thought we prepared as best we possibly could. And any changes that we didn't expect, that maybe they started, or the starting 11 they started, there's one or two that we didn't expect. So then we adjusted to that pretty quickly. We had the game plan. And I thought it went out really, really well. And then obviously we conceded a pretty poor goal in our standards. But I think after maybe coming out of the second half, they had maybe 10, 15 minutes of possession for a long period of time, and we battled through it. And after the goal that we scored, maybe 80th and 85th and wherever it was. After that, I think there was only one team to win it, whether that was in 90 or 120 or even in penalties. So and the emotion and the pride of the club, of the community, and to be in the FA Cup second round for the second time in not many years for the club is huge.
When you scored that goal to equalise nearing the end, where does that rank in terms of your favourite goals throughout your career?
I'm not a man that scores many, Josh, to be honest. So yeah, it was very proud. I don't think I've scored goals in important ties like that, to be honest. Unfortunately, I'm not a Sam Avery where he scores, I think, big moments, big goals. So that was nice. It was a great feeling. Just tried to cause some chaos, to be honest, and it obviously hit my shin and went in. And everyone after the game was it your goal? Was it your goal? And yeah, I was trying to claim it as best I possibly can. So yeah, the feeling was unbelievable. And obviously because it was raining so badly, everyone was crammed into that stand. So you felt the noise, you felt the movement, you felt the roar once we scored. And having that interaction with the fans was unbelievable. And from that moment onwards, they just carried us through.
Yeah, it was quite a moment, and the photos of that so those celebrations were something that actually sticks with me. I think about it a lot. Obviously, there's been some great moments this season. What are some of the other ones that stand out to you?
It's a difficult one to say. I'm not a man that gets that gets ahead with moments or gets ahead with wins or stuff like that. I get pretty down in the dumps when we lose, but when we win, I guess I just don't enjoy it as much. It's more relief. Feeling I thank God for that. Right, when's the next one? Um, but I think what's really, really good about the club and what's really, really good about the players and the group involved is that even if I'm the grumpy one, there's so many positive people in the environment that has such a kind of positive atmosphere or create a positive atmosphere and a culture, which is massively important. So not necessarily any standout moments. I know Gaffer was a bit unhappy with me after the Needham Market game when we actually got to the first round FA Cup proper and we played horrendously and I was an absolute grump after the game and he was going stop moaning. We've got to the first round of the FA Cup, twice in 2 seasons, which is a massive achievement for the club. And there's me being a grumpy bastard in the corner. So that's I guess that's the way I am. But there's so many positives throughout the season. A long may it continue.
And of course, on the following Monday after the FA Cup first round, we were drawn away to Chelmsford in the second round of the FA Cup. What are your thoughts on this one? How are you and the boys feeling?
Yeah, I think it's a good tie for both clubs. I think both clubs are looking at going, that's a winnable game. I think there's a two step two sides or two ties, should I say, with Slough and Macclesfield as well. So yeah, it's in a way it's a good tie for whoever wins, and it's a horrendous, horrible tie for whoever loses. But I know they've picked up form. They're starting to gel. Their gaffer's starting to get them playing a little bit, and they're scoring a few more goals, and they've got a good home record. And they battered, is it Braintree, I think it was, in the first round. So yeah, we're looking forward to it like every other game. But it's at the end of the day, it's just a game against someone else in our own league, and of course, you can big it up as much as we possibly can. But it's something that, of course, we want to win. We would expect to win, same as they would expect to win. So hopefully we can go out there and give a good shot and get to the third round.
And what makes the FA Cup so special for a club like Weston?
I think the FA Cup is so special. I think I alluded to it actually in my column the other day when a good friend of mine and a professor and a mentor of mine, Professor Robin Jones, spoke about his time at Sutton when they beat Coventry in 1980, something like that, in the third round, and he still talks about it with joy now. So I think that epitomises what the FA Cup's about, and the stories behind it and the feelings behind it, and everyone's joy and everyone's kind of wants to get to the next round and wants to go as far as we possibly can. One for memories, to go down in history for the football club. But of course, every chairman in every single football club would be happy to get further in the FA Cup for the money value for it as well. So, but yes, it's the memories, it's the emotions, like you say. And it's the feelings that you have and you can portray. And like you said, that the pictures and that moment when they scored, that'd be something that I'll be speaking to people when I'm a little bit older, and I'll be going, yeah, I scored in the first round. This will happen. This is the feeling. And there's so many people and so many memories, whether that's fans, whether that's staff, whether that's the kit man, the players, wherever it may be. Everyone's involved in those memories, and I think that's what the FA Cup brings.
Definitely. And of course, obviously, early on this season, we did have a manager change with Scott Rogers taking charge. How was this transition for the players, particularly?
It's an interesting question, to be honest, because Scott Bartlett, fair play to him, got the opportunity to go to Eastleigh, and he couldn't say no to it. And as a group of players, we wish him all the best. But at the time, there was a little bit of time of transition. And it was a little bit of unknown at times, I think. But with Scotty Rogers, should I say, with him just being the assistant, the environment hadn't changed. Gary Warren, the current assistant, he was obviously around at the club, and people knew who he was as being the academy manager. And I know obviously he's good friends with Scotty as well. And AD, who's now the technical director, who's come in at the start of the season anyway. So there's very, very little change. So I think the boys were accepting of that. It's been a real smooth transition, to be fair to Scotty, and he's really helped and managed the periods well. It's now how we can move forward now. How can we recruit well? How can we express some of the ideas that the coaching staff now have, which may have been different to the previous manager. But as players, we just go out there, do our jobs, and do as best we possibly can. And I think that's what we've done. Whether that's from the start of the season to the last couple of games, doesn't matter who's in charge. And I think that's the beauty of the group that we have. They give us structure, they give us ideas, but at the end of the day, we're the ones that are on the pitch and need to make decisions for ourselves. And I think that's shining throughout that transition.
You mentioned Gary and AD just then. They've now come onto the coaching staff, the first team coaching staff, of course. What expertise do they bring to the coaching staff, and how has your working relationship been with them so far?
Positive. I think AD provides some experience in the league, experience with different players, different contacts. And yeah, he just provides a different voice. I think AD probably supports Scotty and Gary a little bit more than you would kind of with the players. And he obviously supports with the recruitment, trying to bring players in, which is vastly important. And then you've got Gary, who's also come in, who's got a wealth of maybe more playing experience, being in a different environment as well, which is probably key. Obviously playing up in Scotland for a number of years, and that helps. And he brings energy. He brings energy to the environment. Similar to what Scotty Rogers brought when he was assistant. Gary brings the same energy, brings some detail, and helps us with some kind of tactical elements and football nous, I guess he supports with, and he's a great bloke to have around and have as a support. And of course, as a centre half, he gives me a few tips and helps me with positioning, and he helps with younger defenders as well. So it's great having both involved, and hopefully we can push on with the current coach staff we currently have.
Yeah, brilliant. What have some of the challenges been so far this season? Obviously, we have had a very good season, but what have some of the challenges been like?
Good question, to be honest. Obviously, we've had two poor games, I think, if I remember correctly, against Tottenham and Hemel. We've got beaten, was it 3-1, I think, against Tottenham, and
3-1,
3-0 against Hemel. Those are the two main games that we were disappointed to lose. Obviously, we lost to Hornchurch first game of the season, but yeah, those two games stand out. To be honest, they possibly come at a good time. Bit weird thing to say that, because I just think we were the Tottenham game. I think the few games before that we weren't performing very well. We were kind of falling into a trap. We're going to lose a game, and we lost Woody, I think, in the 60th minute. Down 10 men, got a penalty, and they went 2-1 up, and we lost some structure. They scored then 70th minute. So that was a long 20 minutes to play, really. So that was a bit of a wake up call for us about, okay, well, we can't carry on as we go in. So that was one moment that probably we managed through quite well. And like I said, the coach and the group is fantastic to be around. So that as a positive influence. And of course, Hemel, after the great win against the FA Cup, and against Aldershot in the FA Cup, everyone's positive. Suddenly got Hemel away, which they had a great result, holding Wigan till 0-0 to full time and extra time, and of course losing on penalties. But that brought us back down to life, really, and that was a bit of a disappointing performance all round. I think it was a bad day for us as a whole. We didn't perform. We didn't win any of our battles, really. I think we were poor all over the pitch, and even though then they didn't create that much, we could see from three set pieces. So yeah, or after that, I think that was really disappointment. But then going to Eastbourne then on Saturday, which we were bare bones, really. Me and Ava at the back couldn't really kick a ball, couldn't really head a ball, couldn't really move, to be honest. So that wasn't great. And we've grinded out some sort of victory with Brits getting the goal in 98th minute. Not too sure how we got that, but yeah. So we've managed the low moments, if you call them low moments, really, really well, and we've bounced back really, really well from the losses. So it's now about trying to minimise them, because they're going to happen. We're going to have bad games, we're going to lose games, and that's acceptable, and that's okay. That's football. But it's how we manage that and make sure it doesn't become kind of a stain within the run of results that we have.
Yeah, I suppose it's more about, not letting it become a skid of bad results, rather than, because as we mentioned there, those couple of games are quite few and far between that we haven't played so well this season, and we haven't got the right results. So yeah, I would agree with you. It's been a really positive season so far. But of course, this is now your second season at Weston. What would you say is different from this season to last?
The fact that I'm not giving that many penalties away. I think that helps. First two games. Last year, I think, was it Worthing and Enfield?
Enfield,
Worthing, Enfield away. Yeah, first two games for Weston.
Enfield in the meadow, wasn't it? It was in the long grass. Awful.
Yeah, long grass. But that's, and start early. The pitch was okay. So, and I it was a bit of oh shit, what I'm doing here. Unfortunately, yeah. So it hasn't been that different, to be honest. I'm very, very fortunate to come into quite a stable group. And I think last summer was, or summer where I came in, there was a little bit of transition, few new players coming in, but this summer was a little bit less, and the kind of the spine of the team kind of stayed where they were. I think, which has been vitally important, which probably highlights how we've had such a positive start to the season. But again, I think that if we compare ourselves to this time last season, we were probably in a similar position. And then we lost our way maybe at this time. We lost, I think, against Rovers. I think we might have won the game on a Tuesday. Then we went on a really bad run. So I think that's something that we're pretty aware of and need to make sure that we eradicate from this season. But in general, like I said, I probably said it about 4 times now. It's about the group and the boys, and it's enjoyable. And it was enjoyable last season. It is enjoyable this season, and I think that's what we need to carry on going. And the group and the morale. And I think we potentially have a few signs coming up, which is positive for the club. And we need to now make sure that we push forward towards the league, the FA Cup, and of course the FA Trophy this weekend.
Brilliant, yeah. You of course joined at the start of last season. You spent 10 years at Cardiff Met before that. What was it like for you trying to settle into a new environment after spending such a long time at another club?
Very different. I think I remember when I was 18, I came from Midwest Wales, farming background, a very kind of isolated understanding of football, maybe. And then I remember coming to Cardiff Met, 18-year-old, sat in the corner, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to speak to anyone. I was just a bit nervous. And over that 10 period of time, I think that definitely the first half of those years were fantastic. Great group of people that I'm now kind of, I call them kind of my best friends in most of them that were there. And yeah, had a great experience there, I've got to say. And that showed me what some good people look like, what a good culture looked like. And those memories they'll stay with us. And we've got a group now. We met the other week for someone's birthday. So yeah, it was that kind of group and culture was huge. And then towards the latter stages of my time there, I think it became a little, maybe a little bit stale from the club perspective and my perspective. So coming to Weston for myself was a new challenge, was something different. Come away again, probably similar example really from the isolated area of Welsh football at the time, where I was just as a Mid Wales to then Welsh Prem or Cymru Prem, should I call it. Which enabled me to give the experience, got the experience of Europe, which was fantastic. Wales Sea Caps, again, unbelievable experiences. But that was an element of just Welsh football, so it was important for me to try and get away from there. And fortunately, Scott Bartlett at the time kind of gave me a call and got me across to Weston. And similar to myself when I was 18, I kind of sat in the corner, I kept myself quiet, did the running in pre-season, tried my best, and naturally, I think when I'm training or when I play a game, I think I know I've got quite a loud voice and quite vocal. And yeah, and I have an opinion on how we should play and how things should be done. And sometimes that's for detriment to myself. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. That 6 weeks of preseason was massive. We obviously went to Portugal to have that preseason trip away, which was unbelievable, which was important for us to maybe meet the group. And obviously there was Coles, Chambo, myself, Wedgie, new to the group in that summer, and that was kind of helped to galvanise ourselves as a group, really.
And how do you think a division like, the National League South compares to the Welsh Premier League?
I get this question all the time, and I never really know how to answer it.
Yeah.
It's just to put it like really simple. It's you've got better players. You have more teams, more excitement in the National League South. I think the structure of teams in the Cymru Prem is probably, or they're reliant more on structure rather than individuals. There's some very, very good coaches in the Cymru Prem across all teams, to be honest. And they're all going through the FAW badges systems, and because it's Saturday, everyone knows each other, which is kind of a little bit of a weakness in itself. So everyone knows how everyone plays, and I've been there for 18 months, and I still know how most teams play and what shape they play and what patterns and what players, and so it doesn't necessarily evolve that much. It's very structured. It's very kind of cancelling each other out, and I think that's the best way to describe Cymru Premier. And there's a big gap, I guess, between the top level of players, and I'm talking about individuals now, from top level of individuals in each team and across the club to the bottom end. Where I think within the National League South there's more good players, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's more moments and this higher level of maybe skill, and I think maybe there's less. There's less of a lower quality of player across the National League South, because obviously there's so many steps in English football. So if they don't turn up in step 2, then you just then go to step 3, and if you don't, step 4. Whereas I think there's much less movement across Wales because there's just less teams. National League South is at a higher level, more competitive, and I've just really enjoyed it, more interesting. But that's not me kind of degrading Cymru Prem, because I've been there for so long, and it gives me so many experiences, and I'm sure it'll give me more in time.
And during your time at Met, you once featured in the Europa League, didn't you? What was that experience like?
Yeah, unbelievable experience. It was something that we weren't expecting, really, and I think maybe 2 years previous, we got to play our finals 2 years in a row before that and lost in the finals. Which was quite disheartening, and then we won up in Bala in penalty shootout. So yeah, that experience was unbelievable. Went to Luxembourg, played against Progress and Edicon, very good team. I think it was the last year of the away goals, so we drew 2-2 actually in the tie. We lost 1-0 away and won 2-1 at home, but the away goals got them through. And they went on to play Rangers actually, but that experience in itself was an unbelievable experience. And say that I've been involved in the Europa League qualifiers was an experience and unforgettable really, especially with a group of players that were there. And
obviously, in your career, you've also captained the Wales Seaside. How much of an honour was it for you to represent your country?
Huge, and it doesn't matter what kind of level, I guess, you play for your country, whether that's under 14s, whether that's schoolboys, whether that's in the C team, the 21s, the senior team, the over 60s Wales team. I'm sure there's pride in any way of playing for your country, and and to be captain for 2 of the 4 games that I played was unbelievable, and especially kind of the results that we had, beating them in Caernarfon for kind of 4-0. Which was surreal, to be honest. And then beating them again into Nestle 2 years ago, 1-0, I think. So yeah, those experiences are unbelievable, and something that I'm very, very thankful for the FAW, and at the time Mark Jones was the manager that gave me the opportunity to be captain as well.
What was your favourite standout memory with the national team? Was it the first time, you wore the armband, or was it a goal or a moment in particular?
Probably two moments. There was, I think obviously first cap was unbelievable. But there was two moments that I just think about that stand out. One was when we were actually in the hotel before the Carnarvon game, or a game at Carnarvon. And the manager pulled me, Mark Jones pulled me, and he said, "Look, I want you to be captain." And in the previous year, obviously, it wasn't me, and he spoke to the previous captain and asked, would it be all right if Emlyn take it? And yeah, it was an unbelievable moment between myself and again, good friend of mine, Mark Jones. He gave me the captain's armband there and then, and I was like, right, I need to give my mum and dad a call. So that was a surreal moment. And then possibly maybe the first half in that same game, where we just blitzed the English team, scored 4 goals, and yeah, it was. We kind of came in at half time and go, oh, what just happened then? And that feeling of, we've kind of just blitzed a National League team with the group players that we have, and the group of players were and individuals were unbelievable. And a good friend of mine, Will Evs, he's now went to Newport, now gone to Mansfield, and has had a great footballing career from that as well. So yeah, it was a good moment for him and a good moment for me.
Now let's talk about your life off the pitch. What do you do for work, Emlyn? Just tell everyone.
So I'm a lecturer at Cardiff Met. A bilingual research methods lecturer is the title, where I mainly work with undergraduate students.
And what for someone like me who's struggling to know what that means, what does your day-to-day look like? What does your role involve?
A lot of my role is kind of overseeing the research methods element for level 4, 5, and 6, which is first year, second year, third year, for the sports students. And then I mainly kind of teach through the Welsh medium, so through Welsh language. So there's a group of cohort, maybe if you're on a sport coaching degree, sport and PE degree, strength and conditioning degree, sport media degree. So, and then if you're a Welsh speaker, then you would go to the kind of the Welsh research methods sessions. So that across the first year, second year, third year, and then basically I deliver that. I then also help to deliver sport and PE stuff through the medium of English, and sport coaching stuff through the medium of English. So yeah, a lot of it's kind of teaching and supervising some dissertations and stuff like that.
How did that role come about, and when did you start doing that?
I think the job was maybe 6 years ago. I had a sport coaching, I think maybe 3 days a week role, lecturing role, and then it kind of come from there really. But 18 came here, did the 3 years undergrad, did a master's, and then had an opportunity to do a PhD or a taught doctorate in sport coaching, something I was really interested in, and yeah, I went from that really, and then had opportunities to apply for a lecturing role. Fortunately got that, and applied for another role, and unfortunately got that really. So yeah, within the 11 years I've been in Cardiff for nearly 12 years now. Yeah, that's kind of the trajectory of being an undergraduate student myself into a master's, doing a doctorate, and kind of being a lecturer, and that was kind of the stage process.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, you've recently completed your doctorate in sports coaching, I believe it is. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, what was that experience like for you? Obviously, that higher level of education, and how do you think this has helped you both on and off the pitch?
Yeah, it was certainly tough. I think was it maybe 4 or 5 years it took me to complete it. But yeah, it was a great experience, and something that I've loved and still work on. And the doctorate, or the thesis of the doctorate, was around the boundaries of work and the everydayness of coaching, and how coaches manage their everyday boundaries between work, life, and non-work, and the elements of how they justify their own practice as well. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of the of the work, and yeah, having an understanding of that work, probably of how coaches, maybe there are no boundaries in this 24/7 nature of constantly doing work and not being able to escape it, or choosing not to escape it. Yeah, that was certainly interesting, and give me a greater understanding of, one, the everydayness of coaching, but the everydayness of life, really, because everyone wants to do everything by yesterday. Everything's quicker. Everything's accelerated in a way that, there's no, we're struggling to create meaningful connections. And that's something that a lot of my work was around, is trying to make something meaningful, and being resonant with something or someone. So that was a real interest, and a real kind of eye-opening moment, really, when I kind of understood the study and some of the ideas and the theory to go with it. And I think off the pitch, has grown myself as an individual to try and understand where I sit myself within my everyday life, and I try to be a little bit more resonant with my work, with football, with people. So yeah, that's kind of how it's supported me, and hopefully now we're trying to get some articles out and trying to have that influence on kind of coach education, and have that influence on coaches in general. And of course, it's not just around coaching; it's around kind of sociology of work as well. So that hopefully can have an influence on the general kind of public as well.
And over the years, how have you managed to juggle, education, work, and football?
Yeah, and that's probably some of the inspiration and the rationale for the project, because I don't think I did. I couldn't manage it. I couldn't juggle it. Everything was falling down, to be honest. So all the plates were on the floor, cracked. So yeah, it was difficult, and it still is difficult to manage everything. With time is obviously the first thing you go to. But it's just the thinking and the thought process, and moving from one to the other, and politically managing certain periods of time. But I think the study itself and the thesis itself has helped me kind of understand my own position, and helped me kind of move things around within, like you said, the job, the student, the research, the football stuff, the coaching stuff. So yeah, it's certainly helped me, and yeah, it kind of led to the project itself.
Brilliant. Emlyn, what are you hoping to do after football?
Cool question. I don't know, to be honest, Josh. Right now, I think that my career path is obviously being a lecturer, and trying to get as many articles out as I possibly can, get some research out there, trying to have an influence on coach education. I think that's something that I'll continue to do, and continue while I play football. So I am, the after football thing doesn't necessarily maybe fall onto my lap, because I'm just doing the job, and football's a side thing, I guess. I'd like to go back into coaching, because I did a lot of coaching for a few years, and I've got my A license, so I would like to go back into coaching in some respect. What that looks like, I don't know. Whether that's an academy, whether that's senior football, whether that's helping out with different phases within the academy, or something like that. I think that's certainly something that interests me. As I research it anyway, I may as well do it. So yeah, I think that's probably where I want to go. What that looked like, I don't know, and I'd like to say that I don't want to rush into finishing anything, because I think I got quite a bit of time in my footballing career.
How have, those coaching experiences helped you as a player, would you say?
Yeah, hugely. Because I have a greater understanding of maybe decisions they have to make, and the issues they possibly have, and how they've got to navigate and manage certain scenarios and certain individuals, and managing up and managing down is very difficult. And of course, it's then helped me from a tactical point of view, and learning different shapes, and learning different ideas, and how to play and how not to play, and what you want from a certain player. And of course, seeing it as a coach is probably a little bit easier than doing it. But it's definitely given me a grasp and understanding of how to do things, and how it looks like, and what I should be doing. And I think it's been massively helpful. I think at times maybe I'm overthink it and think maybe a little bit too much as a coach from a player perspective, and I'm maybe overly critical of individuals or overly critical of maybe of how we play and certain intricate movements of maybe the shape, for example. Because I naturally speak it with Kulse a lot because he coaches, the 18s, 19s here. Plus, then he's at Bristol City, so I speak to him a lot about coaching, and we put our heads together in different ways and have different ideas around coaching and football itself. So that's really interesting. So that definitely helps. But of course, is everyone's got different opinions, and on football and coaching definitely helps that and brings that out.
And to wrap it up, Emlyn, what would your advice be to young people starting out in football?
Play as much football as you possibly can. I think that would be my advice. I think it's difficult. I have been very, very fortunate that everywhere I've been, I've been kind of being able to play. Even that's from youth team, and what my first step into senior football was the step 2 in Wales, which was Cymru North with Penryn Coch. Very fortunate as a 17-year-old, I played every minute of every game in that season, and then going to Cardiff Met. Again, fortunate enough to have a starting position when I was 18 in the Cymru South. Again in step 2 before going up to the Cymru Prem, and of course coming to Weston. So yeah, there's I believe I've had a lot of playing experience, and I think that's my biggest bugbear when players are accepting of maybe not playing, or also maybe bringing a false perspective of themselves where they think they should be playing higher, which a lot of players within this level, and I would say we're probably the highest up there with the highest semi-professional teams in England. And people may be pushing themselves a little bit too high without needing to or wanting to, earn their stripes, I guess, and playing a little bit of football. And I think that's massively important. Is just to play football to start off with, and then the standard, enjoy it. You have to enjoy it, and sometimes I've struggled to enjoy certain times of my career so far. And that definitely has an impact on your performance and how you are in the group, and has an influence on you and others as well. So I think you have to try and enjoy it and make sure in your environment to enjoy it. And lastly, I think you have to work hard. Like, you have to be able to learn. And someone told me before that once you've done 19, 20, you've stopped learning, which I completely disagree with. I think you're constantly able to learn and develop some different ideas, develop technical ability, but also develop as an individual. And doesn't have to be just footballing skill, technique stuff, and how to help others. But you have to be able to work hard and graft. I think I would like to say that I've made the most of my ability, and I think most of the boys in Weston would 100% agree. And that's really, really important, because I see so many people and too many people within the environments that I'm in that just waste some of the talent they have, and at the end of the day, the talent doesn't really exist and doesn't need to exist if you're not going to grind it out and being a good person and trying to lift standards. And some might say, oh, you're or maybe call it a badger, or you're busy, or you try too hard and it's too cool to try. And I just don't see any of that. I don't get it. I don't understand the issues and the reasons why that should stop you moving. I think you have to grind, you have to work hard, and you have to have standards in everything that you do. And hopefully, the biggest problem for that is that everyone's heard all that before, and you have to have it in yourself, and that's the main thing, to be honest. So yeah, those are 3 elements. Enjoy it, like everyone else says. Work hard, I guess, like everyone else says. But you have to have that edge about you, to have that nous to play football, and you have to be able to play. And playing football, and don't look down on anyone, because you never know how quick you go down with football and how quick you can go up. So yeah, that's my advice. I'm not too sure if anyone wants to take it on or not, but yeah.
Brilliant. Emlyn Lewis, captain of Weston-super-Mare AFC. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate having you. Thank you.